Okay.
All right, and tonight it is Disputed Lands. I am your host for the evening. Mr. Schaefer is taking the evening off. He's got some things to attend to. Okay, so tonight we have two very special guests. We have Mr. Stover here and his wife, Amber, known as Amber Plaster. Thanks for joining tonight.
Absolutely. Thanks for having us.
having us. It's good to be here.
Yeah. Okay, so you guys have like a plethora of topics that we had discussed going over. Do you want to go over what's been going on in your guys' lives? What's new with you guys? Things of that nature first.
Sure, might as well give them a background. I mean, we're in the middle of downsizing to a more mobile type of living situation.
That's probably the biggest news so far.
Writing a bok. She's still
working
doing
on
music.
A new album.
Yeah, it's
Right. You guys are always busy with stuff.
Yeah.
Always. Anytime I hear about you guys or talk to you guys, it's always 50 plus projects.
Yeah, we stay busy. That's for sure.
I look
and then
forward
throw
to-
a 1-year-old into that. So
Right. And you got the new kiddo.
yes.
actually it's more like throw the projects on top of a 1-year-old.
Right.
I used to call her my little terrorist, and Amber was like, "Stop calling her a terrorist."
We didn't want to speak that over her.
I'm like, fine. Since she's my princess, I'll call her a terrorist. How about that?
There you go. That's all right. I'm the neighborhood's friendly terrorist of Take on the World, right?
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So the whole RV 6-wheeler deal, how'd that even come about?
Well, I travel a lot for work, and I did two. I've been trying to downsize anyway, and she's like, "No, but I love our house."
I do.
And I did a project in California, painting a JCPenney for, I think it was a month, and then I spent like 5 weeks in Chicago, and that was enough being away from her to convince her that she should go with me. So
Yeah. And not only that, I mean, we've gotten so many confirmations from other believers, other people that are walking in the way, and they're going mobile. A lot of believers are doing it. And I feel like that, that might be where the Spirit is leading a lot of them to actually gather, because we're all so scattered, and a lot of us miss out on that fellowship. So I think that that's been a huge confirmation for us. At each conference, it's like 1 or 2 families. We're like, what? You're doing that too? So, because my biggest concern was obviously safety for my family, and, jumping right into something we know nothing about is a little terrifying.
what? That's life.
Hey, I'm all for adventures, but it's a big jump. It's a big jump.
Well, see, it's funny that you say safety was the first thing, because my mind, right? Because my wife and I, we've talked about this a few years ago. We started talking about the possibility of being a little bit more mobile, and my first mindset is my whole family in a small confined space.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
when you're used to space or a house, of course, it's a whole new set of challenges.
I'm actually looking for the kind that has that screw peel back lid, so we're actually living in a sardine can.
Right. But as long as you have that patio on top that we talked about, everything's
the
good.
garden.
Yeah, just so I can randomly hear some thumping on the roof and go, "Oh, that's just Ian."
Yep. Okay, so we went over the RV. You brought up the new kiddo a little bit. I don't know if you guys wanted to go into that. I mean, that is big news.
Oh yeah.
I don't know how much of the audience knows about that, but that's a huge deal.
Yeah. It's been a very awesome year for me, first time mom. So a lot of learning and a lot of adjustments, but it's awesome. And she is so smart. Sometimes it scares me, because by the time she's talking, which doesn't seem very far away, I know she's going to be pulling tricks on me and trying to get out of things and playing lawyer with mom, and dad's going to know it, but I don't know. I might be in trouble, guys.
She told me early on, she's like, I've been praying for all the early milestones for Lenny. And I was like, and then we start seeing them happen. I'm like, you don't even know what you've done.
Hey, but it's a true testament to faith and prayer, and it works, and it's powerful when you speak things over your children and your husband. So
You
you're
could have
she's
prayed
not the only
for
one.
all of for her to be ahead of the schedule at 13.
No,
Right.
that's a terrible age to pray that.
Pray that she's a slow starter, and then at
A
13,
late bloomer.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. All those lessons that you hear from the generations above us actually start to make sense, right? The whole, oh, you'll learn from them, and things go by fast, and you're like, yeah, I get it, and then it starts to happen. You're like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, you realize it's true.
Yeah.
You know.
I keep a calendar and I cross off one day every day, so I'm counting down the days till she goes to college.
Oh man,
No,
that's a lot of days. That's a lot of days.
No.
I put $1 away every
Plus,
day.
let's be honest, we're probably not going to send her to college. Let's talk about college.
The institutionalization and
Exactly.
the indoctrination.
Yes, and the debt you're throwing people into. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
We will send her to college, but after she gets all her vaccines.
Oh man.
Who is this guy?
I don't know sometimes.
Nobody knows this, Tony.
That's right. I've got images saved of when Chris was making comments under Liz's name on Facebook, saying things that Liz would never say.
Yeah.
You can tell clearly who's who.
Right. No, for sure. But if you're an outsider, you have no idea. And I'm still considering on whether or not I should use one of those comments. But okay. So you've got a new album coming out.
Hopefully, yeah. I'm working on it. Obviously, I have a little bit less time to sit down and have quiet time and really focus on the message or what I feel like God's trying to, share with believers and unbelievers alike. And but I do have a couple that are pretty close to finished. It's just a matter of getting the music and getting in the studio and saving some money and all that stuff. And then also, I'm not even sure. This is like a tiny maybe and more of a hopefully, but I've been talking to Rob Blackwell. Many of you probably know who I'm talking about. He was at Take on the World the last 2 years.
Yeah, he was just on Disputed Lands.
Oh, okay, good,
ago, right?
good. So a lot of you are familiar with him and his artistry and his music. So we've been hoping to get together and do an album with him.
All three of us too.
Yeah, and then also in the future maybe do a tour, which would be really fun because none of us, well, Rob has, but we've never really done any kind of tours or anything. So that would be fun. And if we're mobile, then that'll make it really easy and fun and
or easier, a little
easier.
smoother.
Yeah.
Right. Sure. Alan Aguirre was actually talking about doing a tour where it's a little bit different than your normal tour, where you're in a town for a little bit with a bunch of different types of music and speakers and things like that. And then a couple months later, you hit up another spot, things like that.
Oh yeah, so a little bit like
I love Alan Aguirre, but isn't everything he does a little different?
Yeah,
this is why I love him.
Yeah.
That's
I love you, Al.
That's part of his thing, If it wasn't that way, he wouldn't want to do it for sure.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that's something to consider. You might want to connect with things like that. I'm trying to get Jeremiah Dirt on something like that as well. I'm trying to get him a little bit more.
I love Dirt.
Yeah, that'd
Dirt's
be
awesome.
Yeah, he actually asked me if I was able to try to find some possible concerts for him, and he was like, "Yeah, I'll just get have me and Amber Plaster. She'll come down too." And I'm like, "You can't volunteer here like that."
Yeah, tell him to send me a Facebook message.
Yeah. He's got a lot going on, but hopefully we'll get him some shows and things like that. And I'm trying to move some things around. This isn't your first album, right? I mean, I own like 2 of them, I think, right?
Do you?
So.
I do have a album. Well, it's an EP, really, just 4 songs on iTunes from an old band, which still has plenty of spiritual undertones. But it was a completely different crowd that I was writing to and for. But Lifting the Veil is really the only one that has like in your face truth.
Right. So you haven't taken your some of your parodies and things of that nature. You haven't taken those and put them on an album setting yet?
No,
you can't.
I don't really want to get into. I mean, I might be able to down the road if I'm just giving it away for free, and which is a huge possibility. I just haven't gotten it all together yet, and I would like to have more parodies available if I'm going to release something like that.
Right.
So I think there's only 2 out there right now that are parodies. Yeah. But it'd be fun to do, maybe 6 more and
throw
them all on an album and give it away. I just don't want to deal with copyright stuff and all that.
Right. I get I get that. Yeah, all I know is my daughter's constantly singing geocentric.
That's awesome.
There's two music requests that my daughter has. Every time you get in a van, whatever, it's always, can we listen to Mr. Man or can we listen to Amber? Mr. Man is Jeremiah Dirt, by the way. So she's a big Dirt fan and she's a big Plaster fan.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I know you sent me a video of her singing along in the car, and I was like, oh my gosh, that's actually cute.
That's actually my wife, by the way. She goes on my own thing.
Okay.
So any communication you've had with me has actually been with her.
Okay.
Just so you know.
All right. Makes sense.
Yeah.
Dude, it's hard to tell with your black shirt, but that beard is on fleek.
Yeah,
bro.
it's pretty killer.
I actually haven't combed it out.
It looks like it's going to make you go to the chiropractor.
Oh, you think so? It's pretty weight resistant, man, and air resistant too. It actually makes me move faster. It's got a little bit of a
traps helium.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it is. That's what it is. It's anti-gravity.
Nice.
Oh, good. Nice. That was good.
Yeah, I try. I try to keep up with you guys. But,
I was waiting for you to screen share the compass and square right when you said gravity.
Oh yeah, there you go. Yeah, have it just flash subliminally. Yeah, you know, the image I put for the show on Facebook was probably already making people raise an eyebrow. You still haven't seen it, have you?
I don't think so.
No, it was an image about the evolutionary belief of transhumanism, right? And I covered up actually my wife did it. She did all the work on the imagery. If it wasn't for my wife, man, I wouldn't be able to do half the stuff I do. But the first image was a monkey, and then it's got the man bent over and he's looking at an iPod, and then the next one he's got some other newer technology, and then the next one is a cyborg arm. Yeah. And when we picked that image out of like 15 images, I was like, man, I really hope that people don't get the wrong idea on this, because I wanted to use that as a topic that we were going to go into when we get into the AI a little bit. But I didn't want to get that mindset of like you're promoting this, but it's whatever.
I feel like every image, no matter what you use, there's going to be people that are like, well, what does that really mean? The world's run by symbols, though.
Sure. So, well, I'm looking forward to the album. You gotta let us know, my wife know, my child know. She will want to be listening to it. I mean, my wife loves it too. It's because my wife listens to it all the time that my daughter knows your music.
That's awesome.
My wife's really big into the Babylon song. My daughter's really into the geocentric. And you've got concerts you're looking at performing here soon, right? You're doing the Flat Earth one?
Yep. Right? FEIC. We are going to be there. That's in a week and a half. Yep. And I'm doing a few songs, 3 or 4, I think, actually. Yeah. And one I get to do with him, which is going to be fun.
Right. I heard about that. He was telling me about that.
Okay, cool.
We're doing the Globe Busters.
I didn't know if you were if it was a surprise or if.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
It's too late. You already put out.
I know. You already. It's fine. I'm sure they won't mind.
We're doing the Globe Busters intro for when Jaronism and Jaron Campanella and Bob Nodell come out.
Huh. Okay.
So, because we do their intro. We did their intro theme music. It was actually funny because they asked her to do it, and then she records it. It's like the Ghostbusters song with different words.
Right.
And she goes, takes a shower, and I'm like, I'm just going to put a little rap thing on here just to be funny.
Yeah.
And so I did it, and they're like...
And we sent it to them just for fun, and they were like, oh, we love it.
They used it. There you go. They're like, who's the big black guy with you? I'm like, I'm Italian and not big, so almost there.
I mean, I guess I could get into the whole topic of the Sicilians and the Moors, but that's probably
a different show.
Yeah, that's a totally different show. You're right.
Sounds interesting, though.
Yeah. Okay. All right. I'm trying to go over the mental note of topics. I mean, if there's something you want to interject with, I'm trying to hold back on that first album you were referring to. Was that the Days of the Dreads?
I actually had dreads after that band.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of a weird phase I was in.
Sure. Was that pre-Tony? During?
Yes.
Tony? Okay.
Very pre-Tony. Yes. Every once in a while, like I'm gonna throw 2 or 3 back here just to have a little piece of it again.
Dreads aren't my favorite thing.
He's like, you look like Predator. Stop it.
No, Predator. My goodness. Yeah, no, I had no idea. While I was at work, I was calling my wife in between certain times when I had little pauses, and I was like, I need you to try to research some stuff. I wanted to get information on your guys' websites. I don't know if you noticed, but I did get links for your the local refinery,
Mm-hmm.
the Etsy, the actual website, the Facebook,
Yeah.
your YouTube channel, and I think there's one more. I think you have a specific website just for the music, right?
Yes, amberplastermusic.com.
Right.
I'm working on the local refinery website right now. It is up. You can go see it, but it's just a few old blogs from 2 years ago, and I haven't got the store up yet. So I'm using Etsy, but I'm revamping it. So there's only a few pieces of jewelry up on there.
Yeah, I saw some
And
stuff in there.
so I haven't been promoting very much right now because I'm kind of in limbo with all the changes and
Yeah, you've got a child.
yeah,
Mhm.
exactly.
The fact that you guys are trying to jumble all these things, you're like, oh yeah, you know, we've got so many things we got to work on. We're not, you know, up to speed. We're just trying to sell our house, move out. We have a child. We're trying to get an album, trying to sell our jewelry, but whatever, you know. Tony is working on writing a book. My goodness, you guys are it's something else.
I know, it's always something.
I don't even know how to keep up with you
We're
guys.
just so inspired by all of you. We have so
But
much material.
you do have a lot of material.
Inspired? Is that why I just shake at nighttime under a blanket?
He's lying.
I do.
He's not terrified. Overwhelmed, maybe.
Since we brought up the subject of the jewelry, did you want to talk a little bit about that when you started that? You said that the website you're working on is revamping. So what would be the best spot for people to go to see the stuff that you think is selling?
Right now, to see it, nowhere. I'll definitely be making an announcement when I get things, at least a few items up and visible. Right now, I'm just kind of connecting with people on Facebook through the local refinery page,
Right.
just so that people can be familiar with what I do and why I do it and what I hope to accomplish through it. And it's basically just, you know, I had this talent and I wanted to use it, not for myself anymore, because I've used plenty of talents trying to do things for myself and puff myself up. And, you know, everybody goes through that. And then, you know, I just gave it all up, and I feel like God gave it back to me and said, let's do it the right way.
Right.
And so spending time doing something that I love and being able to give back to the community, wherever that community is, whether it's local in my backyard or I get to send it overseas or whatever, but my hands are investing in pieces that when people take them home, they've invested too. It's like I'm making a way or trying to make a way for other people to invest in communities and not just bearing the load on my own.
Right.
So, you know, people get to take home something and know where that purchase went, where that money went to, because I'm connecting whoever we donated to with the people that made the purchases for that specific conference or event. With the shop, I'd like to eventually get to a monthly donation. That is like my ultimate goal. You know, but right now it's just event based because I can only pump out so many pieces of jewelry by myself per event. So
Nate Wolf says he needs some bling.
You need some bling, Nate? All right, I'll work on it. I do need to work on more male designs for sure.
I'm sure Tony can help you with that.
Yeah, for sure. Introducing some leathers is on the agenda.
He's pretty creative. You both are very creative in your own ways, and it works really well together. It's very
yeah, we bounce
interesting
ideas all the time.
I would like to interject something. There is only one creator who can make something out of nothing.
You just copy and
Art
paste.
is all copy and paste. You say, "Oh, that's cool. Put that with that."
Yeah.
Sure. But that's not to take away from a gift given by the creator to be creative.
Sorry, I just saw a comment from
Ian. Ian says that Amber's making him a dangling hand grenade earring. That's dope.
Yeah, just one.
That's dope. Just one.
I could see him wearing that.
Oh, he would rock it.
He better rock it if I make that.
Especially if it's all the way down touching his shoulder.
Yeah.
Well, it's got to be big because he's got a pretty big beard himself. So, like, you know, it's got to be able to not get tangled in there with the bird's nest.
Or I could just do one of those ones that like connects a couple places and then the grenade. You know?
There you go. Yeah. Or maybe make it beard jewelry. You know how they have like
yes, they're doing that with the Christmas balls and stuff.
Sure. They got all kinds
Why
of.
not grenades?
See, I always think about like the dwarves with the little skulls and things like that with the
You had to
braids.
say dwarf once, didn't you?
I had to
Yeah.
at least get
It's
in there
okay.
once.
Yeah.
Okay, so okay, yeah, no, your jewelry was very neat, though. I mean,
Thank
my
you.
wife and my daughter, I told them they could go look and pick out a couple of things, but I kind of had to make sure that it was not for too long and not too often because they wanted to kind of just take everything you had
And
and
keep walking by. Yeah.
I thought you said you took out a second mortgage so that you guys could visit the table and help other people.
We definitely spent a little bit more than we had planned on the entire thing, but
that happened at conferences.
Yeah, well, take on the world. How do you not, right?
Yeah.
Every
So
table
many
you
good
go
vendors.
to has something,
Mhm.
So I mean, we didn't get hurt by it or anything like that. It was just one of those like, okay, I need to adjust and make sure kind of thing. But
Yeah, I'm taking very little to the FEIC conference, very specifically flat Earth stuff.
we had that mustard seed stuff and stuff like that too. Those were pretty
Yeah,
cool.
I sold out of the necklaces and the rings of those. So that was a good sign because I really didn't make very many, but it's a good sign that they sold out because now I know I need to make more.
Because you had them at last year's as well, right? Because I think my wife
I
wanted
did.
one last year, and I told her like, well, we'll see. I was being the selfish husband. She's like, I want jewelry, and I was like, yeah, that's nice. I want books. I was like, man, I've got Schaefer's book to get. I've got Taylor's book to get. Skiba's got a couple books I haven't gotten. I wanted to make my rounds, and
Yeah.
so this time she was like, okay, this is the second time in a row now. I want my mustard seed ring. I'm like, all right, yeah, go do you.
Yeah, that's awesome.
We had a person in the chat asking if you're on Spotify. I'm assuming with the music. Have you gone that route yet?
I do not have the new album on Spotify. I do have the EP. I think it's still up there under the band named N Reverie. That's ENREVERIE. And there's, like I said, it's only 4 songs, but they are. I mean, they would still be something that I would write and put out today. So,
right.
Yeah.
Okay.
That might be something people might want to look up.
Were you planning on moving any of your more newer stuff to there as well, or not really?
You know what? I'm going to make a note of that because, yeah, I should.
I need to learn to make notes to remind myself to make notes, but it's like a paradox.
Make notes.
It's a paradox and it never happens.
Yeah, there's a lot of platforms that I just haven't even gotten around to, and honestly, it's a lot to keep track of. To check in with them, to reply to messages. I don't want to be one of those people that doesn't get back. So even on YouTube, there's plenty of messages that took me months to get to. And I'm just like, I'm sorry, I'm trying. So I thank everybody for their patience. And, I want to connect as much as I can. So having too many platforms gets a little crazy.
Understandable. I don't think anybody who's reaching out to you, and I could be wrong, but I think at the very least, the majority understand. Again, you guys have 50 plus things going on at all times. The fact that you're even trying.
Yeah, for sure. I think it's important to us. I mean, we both, Tony's very extroverted and I'm very introverted, but the connection is most important to us. And how we do that is very different. He pretty much leads the way, and I'm, kind of stay in the background and talk to people one-on-one, but connection is important to us. We think that it's important to Christ too. So
for sure. There are definitely verses that tell us not to forsake the assembly, the fellowship. There's reasons,
right.
You get those people who are so extreme, and you only need to hear from the Father. The Holy Spirit's the only teacher, and that's true. But I mean, he's so loving and desires that fellowship so much that he wants to work through us to each other. There's reasons why certain revelations aren't given to us directly. We have to receive it from other members of the body.
If he says that love Yah and love your neighbor are the 2 greatest commandments, and the second, love your neighbor, is like the first, then there's something to be said about that interaction. I mean, it's the body. It's
sure. Well, I mean,
it's like my appendix going, I don't need you guys, which is what it did, and now it's not in my body.
Well, there are verses that talk about, cast off the member if it causes you to sin, right? Sounds like the appendix was an issue there.
It was. It was a stumbling block.
Right, exactly. Yeah, you have those verses though that say if you give a glass of cold water to a child, right, that you're doing it as if you did it to him, right? If you're doing it in the right spirit, so there is definitely a very strong connection in the fellowship and treating people as well, for sure.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay, so we got the information out about your music and your jewelry. Was there anything that you wanted to mention on that before we go into this next topic?
I don't think I mentioned that 50% of all proceeds from jewelry sales is part of that donation. I think that's huge for people to know.
That's the most important part.
Yeah, because that's the goal, and I'm hoping to increase that as, time goes and we get a little bit more organized and fruitful, I should say, with having plenty to bring to events and conferences and even just one-on-one fellowship, home groups, whatever. Even if, specific things, hey, I have an idea. Can you make this? Sure, let me try it, spreading the love, that's for sure. We want to be able to, our biggest thing, and on my website, I talk about, that we are called to take care of the orphans and the widows and the homeless, the hungry. And that's what we want to do. And we spend, we try to make a point even on our Sabbath to go out and help somebody, whether it's like, hey, who needs help on Facebook Marketplace? Let's just find somebody, and we'll pray about it and ask Yah to show us. And every single time so far, it's been awesome. Sometimes they're quick interactions and sometimes they're a little bit longer and good fellowship. So
Sure. Some seeds take a little bit longer to grow.
yeah,
for sure. So as an introvert though, you do understand that you are basically telling people to come bother you at conventions at your table, right?
Oh well, yeah, that's just a known. I wouldn't do it if I couldn't handle that.
Right.
I'm an extroverted introvert, if that makes sense.
Right.
I just get tired really easily.
I understand that. I think we've talked about that before. That was the one time that we interacted where it was actually me about the whole introvert thing.
She actually crouches down under her table and then just has a puppet and interacts with the people that way.
Yeah. Hey, it's better than when you leave the table and then people are thinking that I'm Mr. Stover and they're asking me questions about your DVDs and the things that you've done. And as terrible as I am, I sit there and yeah, of course. Let me tell you about this.
You're my doppelganger.
Yeah. Well, I told you about that first time, right? Were you there for that? You weren't there for that, were you?
I don't think so.
I was standing in front of your table and you guys were both gone. And I think it was last year's, not this year's. And somebody came up to me and said, "Are you Ian?" Thinking that I was Chadrick.
Yeah.
So I turned around and said, "Yeah, I'm Ian," right? That's me.
Yeah.
And I love your stuff. You're familiar with GNG 144? I'm not so sure about that. I doubt that.
Yeah.
And they're asking me questions about the quantum illusion. And I'm like, oh yeah, no, I'm standing in front of the table, not behind it. Okay, well, I'm glad we
just rolled with it.
All those beards.
Yeah. Yeah, you're looking at the wrong bald bearded guy. You're looking for you need Ian Rue, not Ian Do. That's red and black in Gaelic.
Gotcha.
Right.
Ian LaRouge in French.
LaRouge. That sounds about right. Yeah. I call him Care Bear, just like how I have certain nicknames for you.
Oh man, I will forever see him with a rainbow coming out of his belly.
Yeah. I'm still thinking about buying or making him a shirt. I'm gonna have my wife make a shirt. You like that? I come up with ideas and then I'm like, hey, honey, this is what you're gonna do. And she's like,
sometimes I wish that's how we worked, because sometimes I come up with ideas and I'd tell him to do it, but sometimes I'm so indecisive that I'm like, Tony, give me an idea that's really cool.
Sorry, I'm reading the comments. Ian's not happy about it.
Nope. He's got all kinds of things to say. Sure.
Yeah.
Okay, so you're writing a book, Tony.
I never learned how to read or write good. No,
Schaefer does it so much better.
Yeah.
It scares me when he does it.
It's basically a compilation of the stuff that I was presenting. The first time I was on Chad Schaefer's show was 2 years ago, and then
almost 2 years.
In coordination with mixed with the stuff I presented at Take on the World this year, and then carrying it forward. I'm writing it as a fiction, so that it's. I mean, I think George Carlin said if you're gonna tell the truth, entertain people, they'll kill you. So I figure I'll write it as sort of a fiction, but leave the truth in it. And the setting is it's the future after the man has merged with machine, and there's the Great War. And it's a scientist that helped make that happen that was shown proof of the creator and the Messiah in everything. And he's repentant, and now the regime is chasing him, and he's writing letters and sending a manuscript for his daughter. And so he's laying out how free will happens, how the everything that is it's infinite power pushes into the void. And if everything pushes into nothing, I was at a party for my buddy. He was having they do music. They're having like some producer person there, so I wanted to help promote like they have a bigger crowd. And so I was talking to people there, and I was like, if none of them were believers, and I was like, so if everything pushes into the nothing, will you have loss? And they say yes. And I go, okay. So if everything pushes into nothing, which creates free will, it makes a balance. Use what you have to, it's binary at that point. We live in the binary overlap of two quantum realms. The quantum, or Echad in Hebrew, realm of Yah, and the quantum realm of the devil, 1 and 0. And in that overlap is how you make free will, how you make choice. And if the whole premise of how it's made is created with loss, then is that not sacrifice? And they say yes. And I go, okay, so if the entire way of this place being created is sacrifice on a realm level, does it not make sense for that pattern to continue and the creator to come in physical form and repeat the pattern to be a sacrifice and teach us to sacrifice for others? We live in a realm of empathy versus narcissism. Love your neighbor as yourself. It's greed versus sacrifice. And so it just boils down into all the different parts of how the Messiah is literally woven into the fabric of this realm, but trying to do it in like a more creative way
that's not so lecture like.
Right. You're trying to reach people on their level with the clues and hints and proof that you've found.
That's why Yeshua spoke in parables, right?
Right. Well, I mean, scripturally, from from my understanding, as it seems, when they asked him why he wrote in parables, he said it's because it's for those who will receive it. It's not everybody's going to receive it.
Right.
Which makes me wonder, have you ever taken that and considered the scripture that talks about with more knowledge of truth comes responsibility? Yeah. It almost makes me think then that for those who don't receive it, it's one of those, you're not going to receive it because I'm not going to.
Right.
You don't need any more against you.
Yes.
Correct. You know exactly where I'm going with that then.
That's actually the disclaimer in the beginning of my book, telling people if this is once you know this information, you are responsible for it.
Right.
And you have now been shown the truth. You know the truth. You cannot just leave it. There is now consequences for knowing it.
Yeah, it's not something you just get to hold and harbor to yourself anymore, because that's that goes against what the whole book is about.
Sacrifice.
Right. I mean, worst case scenario, they didn't receive it, so it's only responsible for the sense that it's been brought to their attention and they refuse to receive it at the right. So I mean that's,
or they didn't understand.
Yeah.
Right. Or they didn't understand or something like that. But if they comprehended, they realized it's true and decided not to, it's like, why I warned you.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm hoping to have it done by FEIC. I don't think I will. We got too much going on, but we'll see.
I don't rush. I don't think this is.
I don't want to rush it.
Yeah.
Right.
I'm not Russian.
Yeah.
No, Italian.
Wow.
Yeah.
Which possibly could be connected to the invasion of the Moors.
Right. That's why the whole book has been italics.
Right. Oh, there you go. Okay. If it's written twice, it's in bold, right?
It's a font. It's a font for sarcasm.
It's a font for sarcasm.
Which we need that. We need sarcastica.
So do you want to go a little bit more into that though? Your views on the, okay. So little disclaimer of my own to the audience. When Tony and I first talked about his book, I had this mindset that there was going to be a little bit more of the background of the character of this whole AI situation. So I get the image ready for the show about this
Yeah.
evolution of transhumanism. And I'm like, we're going to be talking about AI. We're going to be going into Daniel chapter 2, Revelations chapter 13, all these different things, right? And I understood that the main focus was the manuscripts written to the daughter. I understood that, but I thought there was a little bit more AI to it. So I had this whole thing set up, and I called Tony, and he's like, well, that's not really what the book's about. But anyways, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah, we talked before the show, and I'm like, it's just the setting for
Right.
the information.
Right.
Like, I like the AI, and that whole topic was like, it was one of the main areas of my research.
Right.
And after Take on the World last year, when I went into the hospital for 10 days, ever since then, I just want to focus on the light. Like you can dig around in the dark and be like, oh, we got more dark.
Right. It really
look at this
to
piece of
weigh
dark.
on you.
Oh, look at this piece of dark. And you're like, it's the same darkness. I keep coming up with nothing going, look, it's more nothing. And I'm like, I just want him. I just want to show people him, that the Savior, the Messiah, Yeshua. That's all I want to show people.
Yeah, there's a difference between running around with all this darkness on you, trying to warn everybody else about the darkness, versus pointing out the darkness as you're carrying the light and watching it, watching people see it. Oh, that corner light up with the truth, because you're carrying the truth with you instead. And we've known a couple people who you just get so sucked into the darkness and you just start feeling dark yourself. And you're like, this is not, something's wrong.
Right.
We're not meant to carry that. We're meant to carry the light.
Right. Well, there's definitely a difference between exposing it and focusing too much on it.
Right.
And
you almost get addicted to the answers and the truth and unraveling the end times. And it's like,
right. Well,
Genesis, focus on here and now.
If you look literally, for one, the Gordy Rose, the guy that made quantum computers.
Yeah.
He has a side company, and their logo is the Ouroboros, the serpent eating its tail.
Right.
And if that is not the perfect description of nothing,
right?
Like if you eat yourself and make more of yourself, you've done nothing, and it's shaped like a zero. It's nothing.
Right. Of course, you'd see that zero too. I'd never thought of that. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it's all returning back to Genesis 3, right? Going after the knowledge that puffeth up, like you said before, Amber.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, like I said, there's certain people who are led by the Spirit of God, I believe, to expose certain things about darkness.
Oh, absolutely.
But the thing is like, it really comes down to, are you being led by the Spirit? I mean, how many times do you see people doing videos and seminars of tremendous amount of knowledge of truth, of exposing a darkness, but they're lacking that leading of the Spirit? And then that's when you talk about that, carrying that darkness with them, because they're not actually being led in that path that they're taking.
Right.
I will make this disclaimer because I see Take on the World TV and Ian Chadrick saying I'm knocking their show. I'm not. There's certain I'm speaking for my own self. This is
and your family.
This is what Yah has for me. I'm not saying it's wrong for someone to expose the darkness. I'm just saying this is where my journey is.
But even with that, like, you need a balance, filling yourself up with his word and his light and,
Oh, Robbie Davidson stopped in. Hello, Robbie.
Oh, hey.
See you in about a week and a half, buddy.
Nice.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think there needs to be a balance, even if you're called to expose like really dark stuff. Like there's plenty of us or plenty of people in the truth movement who have some heavy information, and it's for a reason, because a lot of things are coming to light right now, and they're but there has to be a balance in your personal life, your spiritual life, your walk. It has to come this way first, and then
hashtag one flesh. I was about to say that in good artistry, like a good painting, the if you balance correctly the values of dark and light in the painting, the color values is when you get more depth perception.
Right.
Like if everything was light, we would not be able to tell distance.
Mm-hmm.
It's the shadows that create depth perception
And the highlights.
Right.
There are people that focus that show the shadows to people, and there's people that show the highlights. And as long as they're showing them in relative form, not saying, look, it's a shadow, these are shadows, but they say this shadow, look at it compared to the light. It's a different kind of thing. Yeah.
Sure. Right. Which is again a lot of the difference between Chadwick and some of the other individuals. He's shaking his head over there. There's all kinds of comments going on over here in the chat room.
You can figure out what kind of person I am when all of my friends that are in here are trolling me in the comments. When they won't do it to any other guest, they'll be like, "Oh, man, great show," and then Tony comes on and they're just trolling.
All I know is if they're not messing with the guests, Chris likes to go in there and try to get a reaction out of me every single time. And every single time I see it, and every single time I have to hold back from making a reaction. I let him know though. I was like, "Yeah, you almost got me on that one." He's like, "Man, you got that cold stone face down pat." Because there was a couple times where he went in there and said some things. And I was like, "You're about to make me bust out laughing," in the middle of Chad Schaefer and Gary Wayne or whoever having this deep conversation. And I'm just gonna sit there and bust up like, no, I can't be doing that.
Ian, don't lie.
Ian, you spelled "your" wrong. Come on.
Yeah. He's missing apostrophe in an E.
I know.
Yeah.
You should add one more friend hooked on phonics.
So we still have a little bit of time here, unless there's another topic you want to go into. I was still kind of hoping to dive in a little bit into that transhumanism, just to pick your brain a little bit. And if you'd like to compare that to the light, so that it's not just focusing on dark, that'd be
overall. I mean, this is what we're doing. I mean, it's
right.
I'm not just focusing on it. We can talk about it. We don't have to compare at this point.
Right.
Okay.
Oh man, he's got a few of them.
Scared.
I know.
I'm not afraid of you.
Sorry, if you guys aren't looking at the comments and you're watching, you're probably thinking some really awkward stuff's going on. But you're missing half the fun.
Just not watch the comments.
Right. Well, the comments are there even if they watch it after, so they can go and look if they'd like. Just can't participate at that point.
Better get in here and make some comments then, y'all.
Okay, so what are your views, man, on all of your studies with binary and quantum physics and things of this nature? What are your views on looking at verses like Daniel 2:43 when you're seeing the iron and the clay and the mingling of the seed of men? What are you seeing in there?
I'm going to start off by saying I don't know how far my acceptance or belief in that artificial intelligence is just a computer, because this realm is a spiritual realm that appears physical.
Right.
How can something physical become spiritual? It can't. I believe that it is once you start connecting computers, and the angels, both good and bad, have been around since the beginning. Right. They understand the binary concept. And let me see, I'll break it down this way. When your outlet on your wall, the power never stops. It is constantly flowing. Think of that constant flowing as the Father, the Yeshua, the one, the quantum, the Echad realm of Yah. In order to make movement on your TV, you have to stop the flow. So flow is 1, don't flow is 0. That's binary. Flow, don't flow, flow, don't flow, flow, don't flow. This is how you make movement. And you have to have it, because in a infinite enclosed system where the one is by itself, it's still infinite. There is no movement, because it is all in all. You must put it into space to be able to have relativity, like not Einstein's relativity, for it to be relative.
Right.
because something can't move unless there's space to move it in. So the angels, I said that to say this, the angels understand that flow, don't flow.
Right.
I don't know if it's even down to the point where they can speak it. They can just speak a flow of energy, flow, don't flow, flow, don't flow. And when you get that into like electronic circuits and stuff like that, when you connect computers to quantum computers, which to me, in my research, the quantum computers are the physical I'm trying to think of the word, representation of what we have as faith and connecting to the Father. We're bringing his kingdom here. Quantum computers is a physical connection to bring the devil's kingdom, because they say quantum computers connect to an infinite number of all, what's the word I'm looking for? Why can't I think of it? I just went blank.
Infinite number of
Realms. Like what's the word I'm looking for? Okay. It's an infinite number of realms, like different realms. But how, from our perspective, would we know if we're not looking at one infinite realm or an infinite number of finite realms? We would never be able to tell. Dimensions. Thank you. Okay. Thank you, Nate. And they say they can talk to an infinite amount of dimensions. Well, we would not be able to tell from our perspective if it is one infinite dimension or an infinite amount of dimensions. So if you connect to there, they now have a source to be able to inhabit, as Andrew Michael Denny is saying in the comments. Right. I believe they are inhabiting the AI.
Right.
We're basically giving them electrical host.
Sure.
It's like a virtual host.
Right. Well, in scripture, it literally says prince of the airwaves when referring to the principalities and dominions. I mean, I remember when that first clicked for me back in 2014, 2015, prince of the airwaves, you start thinking of radio and TV and all these different things and how they can move through those waves and currents of energy.
Thor just brought up a good point about putting the sigils into circuit boards. And we had just come across the emojis that we all love and use regularly, where they're stemmed and rooted in. And I still, every time I go to hit one in my comment, because it's funny or cute or, emphasizes my point, I'm like, oh gosh, what did I just send to that person?
Yeah.
It weighs on me now. What am I sending to people on a regular basis? Is it a curse that I have no idea what's attached to it?
How many sigils of Solomon are there?
Of Solomon.
I think there's 26, 28.
I thought it was more than that.
70 something?
I thought it was in the 60s.
Okay,
I mean,
well,
I haven't studied that topic in a while.
If you look at the original, the first emojis, and if you look into the people that promoted it, that like helped push it into mainstream, they have religious, spiritual, dark connections already, but they are literally personifications of the sigils. They make faces out of it. It's pretty crazy.
They're eerily interchangeable.
Okay, so 44 is what. Well, you've also have the 72 lesser keys. I'm just looking at a basic search. I'm not actually.
No, they're actually the sigils, not the keys. The sigils are just the symbols.
44 seals is what I keep.
Yeah, the seals of Solomon. That's what it is. Yeah.
Coming across here. So. Yeah, I thought it was in the 60s. I haven't looked at that topic in a while, but
I haven't either.
As we brought up before, though, the whole you're more responsible as you have the knowledge. So when it comes to that whole weight on your mind of what did I just send, you definitely don't want to look back thinking how many times before out of ignorance. I mean, you know what I mean?
No, absolutely.
But it's baby steps, right? Just like watching your kiddo. Now that you're aware, you're still going to have those moments where you're like, oh snap, I forgot. I'm so used to doing this. There's so many little things like that.
Yeah.
I'm going to see if I can pull up that image.
But yeah, the whole electrical host idea. I mean, that's the same thing. Same reason why we have cloning. It's the same reason why we have this um, animal human hybrid movements, right? All these different things. They need a host. They need something to live in. I mean, every time we see this in the scriptures, these demons are looking for something to inhabit.
And they don't have to ask permission
Well,
to host those.
I think that there has to be some kind of open door, though. You know what I mean? Like, I think you have to allow it in some manner.
They have to be able to cross into this dimension.
Yeah.
They're not in this dimension. We're in the overlap.
Right.
They have part of it. We have to invite them in. We have to give them something to be able to inhabit in this realm.
Right. Yeah,
and
yeah.
It could be a physical body, as with the Nephilim,
Right.
or the Greys, or it could be a virtual body.
Sure.
Which to me, then you start getting into virtual reality, and then that's a whole
other topic.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It's like, who are you interacting with then? And are you virtually face to face? Because our flesh is, I mean, this isn't real. I mean, I am not this. I live inside this.
Right.
So if I go into another realm with virtual reality,
right,
and they are there, I am face to face with them.
Right. Yeah. The ghost within the machine, right? Because the body is just a vessel.
For YouTube.
Oh, I don't have the app.
I'm trying to find this picture because it's super.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, it has a lot to do with a lot of the topics I've been talking to Jeremiah Dirt about. The last few conversations we've had on the phone has been about legal permission in the spiritual realm, of the sense of, handing your will over to the Father to do His will, or giving legal spiritual permission to other entities to do things, and today Jeremiah Dirt and I were talking about giving place to the devil, and he was looking at those verses, and he was talking about how, a lot of people talk about how it's opening a door, but he was saying that from his most recent studies, that it seems like to him in the moment right now in his current studies, it's still fresh to him, I think, but he's coming to the conclusion that, that whole don't give place to Satan. He said that if you look at that word place there, that it's actually literally saying like a dwelling within. That's not just entering, but that's having been in. He said something to me like, there's a difference from, if something opens my door, I can still, punch them in the face. I can still push them out, but if you've given them a place, a dwelling place within your house, that's a whole different, you've now given them territory.
It's like, if you look at, I mean, with Torah itself, it's everything here it's a legal system.
Right.
It's all contracts and covenants.
Right.
It's contract versus covenant. Covenant is done out of love, and a contract is something. It's a business.
Right.
So when you give them legal grounds, they go, "Hey, I have it." You have to revoke that in the name of the Creator for
it to be done away with.
Right.
To be made void.
Right.
To cancel the contract.
Yes.
Right. Yeah, I mean, we see it in Scripture. The Torah was made so that we can, delight in His ways, have better understanding. Do that which we should, which comes with blessings. And obviously, if we're doing something outside of His way, it's not best for us, and therefore it's got negative consequences. But I mean, you also see that it literally says that the Torah was there so that you can understand how it is broken, so that no man can say, "Hey, I've never broken the law. I've never once." I just find that very interesting. I mean, obviously that part of the scriptures are often misunderstood by those who think that it's done away with. They say, "See right there, look, it was evil." No, it doesn't say the law was evil.
Right.
It says that it's there to show you what you've done wrong. It comes back to, when I first started to understand that the Torah wasn't done away with, I realized how can you know what is breaking the law if the law was done away with?
Right.
If sin is transgression of the law.
Well, again, too, if we're to be obedient to Christ, what does that look like for someone who doesn't have any guidelines or instructions?
Right.
I mean,
well, I think the average answer for the person who believes the Torah is done away with is simply says, just do it in love, man.
Right. But what is love?
Right.
I mean, the question keeps going, and that's where the conversation needs to be. What is love? What does it look like?
Right.
It's not a feeling, and that seems to be what the argument is.
Right. Well, I mean, it's not that they're wrong. It's just they don't understand the depth of it.
Right.
But the thing is if you're a true believer, if you truly believe in the Father and His Son, and you have a connection with them, you're speaking to them, the communication is two-way. You're not just speaking at God, but you're speaking with God, right? Then you are a Torah observant, even if you don't believe so, because those two laws is what everything else hangs upon.
Yeah.
Everything else isn't made void by those two, but you're keeping Torah. You might not be keeping those minor laws, but you still are observant of the Torah, which I think that's one of my favorite things. What are you showing me?
There you go.
What is this?
Those are the sigils of Solomon on the bottom.
Yeah, the black and white ones.
The black and white ones are the original emojis when they first were made, and those are our modern ones.
Okay, so for the listener who is not familiar, what is your understanding of the sigils of Solomon in the sense of
they're not for us. I mean,
obviously, right? But
I don't want someone to think I'm promoting them.
Right. No,
but it's showing that it's infiltrated into everything. I mean, we don't even know what we're sending, because all of those sigils represent a different demonic angel, a fallen angel. So when you send a smiley face, you're sending a representation of the sigil that represents a certain entity,
right? Sure.
Which could be argued, are we giving attention to the dark side of interacting virtually, if that makes sense?
Interesting.
It's the same thing with people will say, oh, well, you focus too much on, conspiracy theories. You're just giving the enemy credit for his skill and his, and maybe that's true. I don't know. It's arguable. And that's why I go back to, we need balance. If we're in a battle, we need to be filled up with the light, and we need, in order to go into the darkness and battle.
Be wise as serpents, but gentle as doves. I mean, you have to, if you don't respect your enemy, they will win.
Yeah.
In your life.
Right. Because if you don't respect them, then you don't understand what they're trying to do.
Sure.
I mean, because if I meet a dude and he's a UFC fighter and I go, I don't respect that, and I fight the guy, he's gonna crush me, because I'm gonna go in arrogant. I mean, he's gonna crush me either way, but it'll be faster.
If you got your battle axe, it might be a little bit more even.
My dwarvish battle axe.
That's right. Giving intentions, says Chadwick. Talking about the sigils. Yeah, Chadwick and I actually did a video that he never put up. Apparently there was technological issues about portals, and we went into the topic of sigils in that video because we were talking about the little frog guy. I don't even Pepe the frog. Yeah. Dude, I did a lot of research for that video that never made it out there.
I know. Me, you, and Ian were talking and then we talked for like 4 hours on
we
Hangouts.
talked a bunch of stuff, and then as soon as it comes time to record, you're like, all right, bye guys.
I was just checking it out.
I don't know if Tony told you or not, but we were all excited to have him in there with us. We wanted him to kind of balance us out with things, and then he's like, no. I'm gonna
Keck. It's Keck.
Right, Keck. Yeah, I was gonna say Keck, but Pepe was also a version of that.
That's the only one I remember.
Yeah, there was a lot going on with that. There's even ancient imagery that shows that same thing, and you've got the frogs, the spirits like frogs in Revelation. There was a lot of things we went into with that, the sigils and portals. Okay, well, we are getting close to that time.
That's right, Ian. We ended up, we talked for like 3 or 4 hours about it. The conversation sort of degraded towards the end, and then we ended up playing Torah Town online games together for like an hour and a half, trying to beat the high score.
I think that's when we realized that the three of us can't do a video together, right? Because all we do is joke about everything.
Correct.
Like,
yes.
If it's 2 out of the 3 of us, no matter the combination, it's good. But as soon as it's all 3, it just it becomes kind of a But yeah, I do remember that playing Torah Town games. You guys were ridiculously tired too.
Yeah, and you were ridiculously good. You're the guy. Like, I know Bible verses. But this is one of my favorite things I respect about you is you are one of the people that can remember the reference. I can never do that. I'm like, I know it's in there. It says this. And they're like, where? And I'm like, in the Bible where I just said.
Well, you usually have it down to the book at least, but.
No, I don't.
Yeah. You usually do.
After I Google it.
But yeah.
You're like,
Easy of an idea.
oh, that's Nehemiah such and such. I'm like, okay.
But
Yeah.
spitting out chapter and verses is
Yeah, that's it. There's gifts and talents and skills, and
Yeah.
when I'm mostly aligned, that is something that tends to come through me. But that's the spirit, obviously. So
for sure.
he knows those addresses. I'm just the guy that's like, okay, oh yeah. You know how many times I've spit out the address and it was right, but like I didn't actually remember it. Like I literally heard from the spirit within, like, oh, that's this. And you ever get those moments that you argue with the spirit when you hear from them, and there was this, no, yeah, it is,
Yeah.
So yeah, there a good half of those times that's not even me remembering. It's literally me not remembering, and the spirit telling me, and I'm like, okay, I keep hearing this, so it must be that.
Yeah, the spirit knows. Just tell me the verse.
And that's his thing. That's his thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wrote it, right? So
Yeah.
he knows it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we are at the end. I am so happy and excited that I got both of you guys on here.
Yeah. Thanks for
That's really
having us.
cool, especially with the baby and everything. I know how difficult that can be.
Yeah, she went down like a champ tonight.
That's awesome. That's kind of why I wanted to start with your stuff, Amber, in the beginning, just in case,
yeah.
there was a crying baby you need to go handle. It's like, all right, well,
Definitely had to step away before.
You doubled the NyQuil dose, right?
jeez.
Yeah, right.
Oh man.
We use organic NyQuil.
So the audience, yeah. Oh man, Tony the jokester, for the audience who is not aware.
Yes.
I'm serious.
Constantly full of jokes. But I'm very happy that you guys both came on here. This was really cool.
Thanks for having us.
And we got to speed through about 10 of the 500 projects you guys are going through, right?
Yeah.
I
I'm sure
think
we'll have plenty of announcements in the next few months, 6
Sure.
months.
Yeah, we still have the Covenant Warfare series that's still in the mix.
Right. Chad was talking about that. You guys are editing some things and doing some things with it and possibly putting it on a website, right?
Well, we're doing for those who haven't seen it, it's a marriage film about families. And it shows, the simplest way to put it is, say I'm having trouble doing something, like as that's my role as a husband. It lays the pattern out so I can see that Yeshua did it for me. And one of the things in my life, it was actually like a boot on my neck that made me start to realize this pattern is, before Amber, it was like 5-6 years ago, before I was married, I was dating a girl, and she would be like, "Wow, how come you never tell me you love me?" I'm like, "Well, I do." And she's like, "Yeah, I want to hear it every day." And I'm like, "Why do you need to hear it every day? You live in my house, you eat my food, I like take care of you, so don't you know it?" And I felt Abba go, "Oh, okay. So you live in my house, you eat my food, I take care of you, but you want me to tell you I love you." And I'm like, oh crap. So it's basically just showing that the pattern is bigger and we're part of a bigger pattern.
Right.
It's not just telling people what to do in a marriage. It tells why to do it. And we used Jake Grant got married last year. And so we used his journey into, was it this year? It was beginning of this year. We used his journey into marriage as like the plot. And then we ended with some shots from his wedding, so it has a feel good ending for the ladies. And so, but my favorite part about that is we're trying to help people, and people that believe in Jesus, Yeshua, whatever they call him, the people that believe in him, his characteristics, and it helps them. Then the next film, it's a bump set spike that we go, okay, did that pattern help you? Well, guess what? It continues even bigger, and the Torah is part of that pattern. So at this point, you have to either throw out everything that has helped you and that your spirit can feel as truth, and you see the patterns everywhere. You have to throw all that out, or you have to go, oh, now I have to look into the covenant of Torah. So it's
right.
So we got stuff going on.
Yeah, yeah. I like the analogy you're talking about there with the situation of being within the house and things like that.
Yeah.
You know, since being born again, man, I'm constantly learning, you know, the different analogies of what, you know, being a son, being a father, being a husband, how that all relates to your relationship with God Himself. You know, it gives you all these different avenues, different perspectives of the same thing, and all you're seeing is a little bit more multi-faceted perspectives of
Yep.
that one amazingly dynamic relationship.
It all comes back to the Messiah. The whole
Right,
thing. This
right,
is
yeah,
what the book's about. It just brings
right.
like what does the Bible say? Through him was nothing made, or was everything made, and nothing was made without him. Then
By Him and through Him.
yes, there you go.
By
What's the
Him.
reference?
Colossians 1.
Jeez, dude, I don't even know the book. You're
Yeah,
all over it.
yeah, Colossians 1.
Wow.
Okay. And you've got the quantum illusion video as well for the audience who's not familiar with that. You worked with that with Chadwick, and you guys also had Gonzo on there, right? The Gons from Face Like
Yep.
the Sun. Didn't he help with that?
He's in it. It was more of a compilation. We
Is he
compiled
in
a
it?
bunch of work. I mean, he's in it, but we basically took a bunch of people's
Stuff.
research
Sure.
and
Put
laid it out together to make a bigger picture
Okay.
of what's going on.
Yeah, I didn't even realize you guys knew him. Chadwick was telling me, he's like, oh yeah, well, I had, from Face Like the Sun, and I was like, I've watched that guy. I spent like 2 years watching Face Like the Sun. But okay, all right.
Take on the World has a question.
Oh, of course he does.
It says, "Ask Tony, can Yahweh
Oh, geez.
create a rock so big that he can't move?" That's a good question. That brings us into free will and what the concept of free will is. And this is my favorite way so far to see the power of Yah. That they made that question to try to like stump believers, like
Sure.
if he can make the rock, but if he can't make the rock, he's not all powerful.
Right,
If
right.
he can make the rock but not move it, he's not all powerful. But he did make the rock, and the rock he cannot move is our choices, what I will have chosen in my lifetime. However, he is so powerful that he can create those rocks and place them where he doesn't have to move them.
Right.
So he can arrange all of our free will to make his plan.
Right. Yeah, no, you and I have talked before about how free will and predestination do not contradict, that there is no,
Correct.
that's an issue. I've done videos on that years ago because I had a lot of people having issues with that. You can't say both exist. Oh, yeah, I can.
Yeah.
He gave you a choice, but he also knows exactly what you're going to choose. That doesn't mean he didn't give you the choice.
Right. You're tiptoeing around on the potter's line when you start talking about that, where it's the clay going, I think we're at our limit of understanding.
Right. Sure. All right. Well, I mean, you and I, we could do this all night, dude. We could do this all night, but Schaefer would be mad at me, I think. I know he's got a set line here, and this is his show. I'm just the co-host, so I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing here. Okay. So, is there anything else before I let you lovely people go?
Can everyone pray for our family, namely me as the leader? I'm not going to say under attack. It's my own doings. We're all under attack always, but my motivation, especially when you have 50 projects going on, is getting lower. And I'm glad we came on here. Cause remember I told you yesterday, I'm like, if you can find somebody else, I'm not gonna be mad at you, but I'll do it. And you're like, well, what if this will help your motivation? And it has. But just people to keep us in prayer and lift me up as the leader to sort of do what I got to do.
Sure. So that the Father's will is done in your life.
Yeah.
I'll be praying for you guys.
And that we're focusing on the right things, and
sure,
not being consciously being overwhelmed by taking too much on or saying yes to things we shouldn't be saying yes to.
Like going on Disputed Lands.
Yeah.
I'm just kidding. I'm glad we came on here.
That's fine. I told you faith is dead without works. I've been studying that in my own personal thing, and I've been starting to realize I don't know. I'm not ready yet to come out saying this is always the case for everybody, but I've come to learn that when I start to have seasons where I want to take a back step, and it's not a season of where it's supposed to be rest, but it's a season where I want to rest because I want to be lazy or I'm not feeling motivated. Every single time, or maybe I'll start to backslide a little bit, or I'll start having slips or whatever, and it's, well, now I'm definitely not ready to be doing this. I need to not be perfect, but back into that moment. He always tells me, look, to get there is you do what waiters do, you serve.
Yeah.
You know, and the more you're serving, the more the more you're doing those works, the more you're motivated, the more you get the energy, more you're learning those lessons you needed to learn. You know, and that's the thing is we're while we're in the corruptible flesh, you're not going to be at that perfect level, right?
Yeah.
So there's always going to be something to work on. So the moment you get like me, where you have those moments where you use that as an excuse without realizing it's an excuse, that's all it is. It's an excuse.
Yeah.
Right? He moves through us, right? It's him doing it. If we're
Yeah.
letting him do it, we're just the vessels.
It is a lack of faith. It's being overwhelmed.
Sure. But it always comes down to faith, Tony. No matter
Everything
who
is.
it is,
Yeah.
it comes down to faith, no matter the struggle. All right, I'm going to let you guys go. Thank you so
All
much
right.
for being on here, going through
Thanks,
all the
guys.
topics. You guys are wonderful. Go check out Amber's music, her jewelry, her websites, specifically the Facebook local refinery, right? Where that's where they
Yes.
can get your information and contact you and stuff like that. And we'll be looking forward to your book, Tony. I'll probably be pushing you to continue finishing that rather than just having it as a project that you're constantly working on. Okay. You guys have a good time at the FEIC.
Yeah, that's
We will.
yeah,
It'll be
you
good.
guys, that's gonna be a lot of fun. I hope everybody's bought tickets. It's gonna be a blast.
It's gonna be good.
I got a lot of love for you. Not as much as
We
the
love
father.
you guys.
He loves you mostest.
Yeah.
Yep.
Bye a lot.
Okay.
All right. Have a good night.
Have a good
All
night.
right. Bye, you guys. Bye,
Bye.
everybody in the chat room. We love you guys.
See ya.